Hey guys, and welcome to the second podcast episode of the new year. I'm so excited for 2026. I have almost all of the podcast mapped out, which is wild to me. I've never done that before, but I was just really envisioned this year. I have all these series and people I want on the podcast and topics I want to make sure I cover. And so I already have all of quarter one mapped out, which brings us to this podcast series that we are starting the new year with, which is what I'm going to call the Real Root Causes series. Because there is a wild, huge, big issue going on right now in functional medicine and alternative health that people are going to practitioners and paying them thousands of dollars in money. I mean, get messages all the time of people saying, I've already spent $10,000, $7,000, $4,000 to other practitioners and didn't get any help. And every time I look at what they did, I always ask them, what testing did you do? What did the protocols look like? What did your practitioner think they were trying to address with you? And I've been looking for patterns for years, and there's a bunch of patterns I've seen, but recently it occurred to me that one of the ways you can describe the patterns is that they are treating things that are not real root causes. So today we're going to go over one of the not real root causes, which you may have never even heard of, but I'm starting with this podcast episode because it's going to lead up to one of the big ones that messes people up all the time, which is Candida. In the Candida episode, one of the things I'm going to talk about is one of Candida's root causes is low stomach acid. And I originally was going to have low stomach acid happen after the episode, but I really thought I might irritate people if I was like, one of Candida's root causes is low stomach acid, but I'm not going to tell you about it now because it's its own episode. And I was like, nah, I'm just going to do it first. So today's low stomach acid. If you are not familiar with low stomach acid, you might be, because I've been doing some education on low stomach acid for a while now. It is such a key concept. But if you're not familiar with it, reasons you might want to care is that low stomach acid is highly, highly connected to a bunch of symptoms. I'm going to start writing. I have a visual, actually I have like my iPad connected to my computer, some really cool tech going on here. And so if you want to see any of what I'm writing out, I'm actually going to be sharing it in a downloadable Google Doc, because I realize podcasts they're not visual. You can't see anything. So I'm going to be taking the image that I'm done, like at the end of the day, what image I have of all the writing, and I'm going to put it in this document, and you can see everything, not just from this episode, but from all episodes. So just go to betterbellytherapies.com/root if you want to see this drawing. And if you don't, I guess, then just keep listening. I'm going to try and describe it. So at the top of this, if you think about root causes, the word root sounds like a plant. The root is going to be if you were to pull a plant up from the root, that sucker is not growing back. But one of the issues with fake root causes is you're not pulling up the plant from the root. You're leaving the root in the ground, and you're just pulling up the base of the plant. And the practitioner that you worked with, or the blog you read that you followed all the instructions on, tells you, haha, you pulled up the root, but you didn't. You just pulled up the base of the plant, and it looks like the plant's gone, but the root is still there. So just like what my father told me when I was a child, it's going to grow back if you don't pull up that weed from the root. But some of the symptoms are the top of the plant. It's what you can most obviously see that you're like, oh my gosh, I've got weeds in my yard. So for low stomach acid reflux is going to be one of the number one things you're going to be thinking about. Acid reflux. You're also going to be thinking about constipation is a side effect of low stomach acid. A lot of you care about that. Another one's going to be bloating. A lot of you care about bloating. Other things are going to be Candida overgrowth, which we're going to get into more of the details in 2 episodes. Candida overgrowth. You really want to understand low stomach acid and why it happens and how it happens. Because even though I talk about it as a root cause, it's still not. And that's not because I'm trying to confuse or lie to you guys. But the next root down here is all of these symptoms can be caused by what someone might call is kind of a fake root cause. And I'm probably the only person committing this crime right now of saying that low stomach acid is a real root cause, but here it is. Low stomach acid it just doesn't happen on its own. The reason it's not a root cause is it still doesn't describe the mechanism of how you got to this place. What are the mechanisms that cause low stomach acid? You can't just treat low stomach acid. If you try to treat it on the nose, what you're going to do is end up in a situation where you're taking you're drinking lemon water in the morning, or you're taking betaine HCl, or you're drinking apple cider vinegar. Whether or not you know that's what's happening, what it's doing is it's boosting your stomach acid in your body, the acidity of your stomach. It's temporarily boosting it. And while that can be great, and you might feel like, oh, I feel so much better after I drink my lemon water in the morning, or I drink apple cider vinegar before my meal, or with my meal, or after my meal. The only reason it's doing that is because it's artificially boosting your stomach acid. What you want ideally is your body to be able to create enough of its own stomach acid. To address that issue, the solution is not go take a bunch of supplements, right? So the big issue is that people then say, basically, we're just doing supplements. And supplement might be the lemon water. It's not necessarily pill form, but you're doing some augmentative thing. Be like, I'm taking care of my low stomach acid. No, you're not. You're feeding the beast, because you're enabling your body. You're not actually you're not enabling your body in treating it, healing it, so that it creates enough of its own. So this is not the direction we want to go. Don't go the direction of supplements. It's just, you're going to end up in a cycle, and you're going to waste a lot of time and money. And unfortunately, what'll happen is, because you're not dealing with the root, those roots can grow up and create other issues, like Candida. Now you have Candida. That ACV, or apple cider vinegar, or lemon juice, lemon water is not going to get rid of Candida. It's not enough. Your body is always going to be stronger. These supplements are only a portion. They're only a fraction, a percentage of the strength of what your body can and will make on its own. Always. So low stomach acid is not its own root cause. Let's talk about the root. Number 1, H. pylori. H. pylori is a pathogen that likes to hang out in your stomach. I'm going to draw a little stomach. Wasn't my plan, but here it is. Hangs out in your stomach, and it loves stomach acid. It loves it. And unfortunately, we do see a correlation with H. pylori lowering stomach acid. H. pylori has some big issues where there was some research done by doctors to understand the pathology behind H. pylori, and it was determined that H. pylori is not inherently pathogenic unless it reaches high enough levels in the body. And while I do think there are people who have H. pylori in their body and they're asymptomatic, meaning they genuinely are healthy, they have no symptoms because of it, I do think there's a lot of people who have H. pylori that don't have high levels that are experiencing negative symptoms from it, because I see those clients. When we do an H. pylori protocol, they feel better. And I dive more into H. pylori. I thought I had this written down. I dive more into it, how to test for it, why things go off. Guys, this is my I can't see it on that side. This is my master plan for all these episodes. It's wild. I should have this somewhere. I clearly don't. I have it. Let me go pull up the podcast episode in my spreadsheet. My podcast. By the way, if you guys want this spreadsheet that has all of our podcast episodes organized by category, and you can just search terms you're interested in, like H. pylori, which I'm doing right now, just go to betterbellytherapies.com/vault. I was not planning to plug that, but here we are. So it's episode 233, and it's going to be in today's show notes, so don't worry too much. Episode 233 is going to really do a deep dive in H. pylori, how you're going to test for it, why some tests can come back negative and you still actually have it, why you want to avoid traditional testing in a hospital, because I have so many clients that they miss it. But we're looking at episode 233. It's now on our little graphic drawing. So that's H. pylori. That's the first thing. If someone has low stomach acid, the first thing I care about is H. pylori. And by the way, I forgot to mention this. There's a way to actually test for low stomach acid. My favorite way is through something called a baking soda test. And just because you have the ingredients in your house, baking soda. So if you want the recipe on how to do this test, go to betterbellytherapies.com/constipation. You're going to download the the constipation PDF, like it's like 3 natural remedies to constipation. And one of the natural remedies is to look at your stomach acid levels. And it has both the recipe for how to do this test and also how to interpret your results to know if you have low stomach acid. Basically, it has to do with like drinking baking soda in the morning and then a certain amount, which is why I have the recipe. And I've misquoted it sometimes, so I never say it on the podcast anymore. Just go download the PDF. But you drink a certain amount of baking soda on an empty stomach in the morning. You then time yourself how long it takes to burp. And if it takes you a really long time to burp or you don't burp at all, and a really long time is determined on the scale. So download it. It'll tell you like how many minutes it is to like what is low stomach acid, what's super low. And it's been very accurate. It's not diagnostic, meaning it can't like diagnose you, but it gets you in the ballpark of like, do you probably have low stomach acid? And most of my clients do. It's just kind of a common part of the disease process, which is why you're having acid reflux and constipation and bloating and Candida overgrowth. They just kind of all come together. So go to betterbellytherapies.com/constipation to go download that test and go do it on yourself. Have fun. The other thing you can look at, if you have blood work that has alkaline phosphatase on it, which is a term you probably haven't heard of very much, but it'll be ALP sometimes, not alkaline phosphatase, but it's usually written out fully. It's on a comprehensive metabolic panel, which is a fast way of saying the blood test that your doctor does that has like glucose and calcium on it and why am I blanking on the sodium and potassium and AST and ALT, the like liver enzymes. So if you have that test, most tests have alkaline phosphatase on it. And what you want to look at is not the standard range, which is like has a really wide range on it. But if your number is lower than 70, that's another sign of not specifically low stomach acid, but specifically zinc deficiency, which gets us into the next root cause of low stomach acid is zinc deficiency. So the way you become zinc deficient, there's a couple ways. Number one is a little bit like a dog chasing its own tail. You can become zinc deficient from low stomach acid. So ways that this might happen is like you have H. pylori and then you have zinc deficiency because you get low stomach acid. You can have zinc deficiency can also be caused by like a PPI use. And we don't know why you were on PPIs. There's a lot of reasons to be on PPIs, and PPI use, I mean, it has to do with acid reflux typically. You having acid reflux is not just one issue. It's usually many layers. And I do talk about acid reflux. I have a whole acid reflux podcast episode where I talk about all the root causes of acid reflux. It's episode 285, and I'll have that in our show notes. Here's what I'll do. EP. I just want these drawings to like make sense to y'all. That will like go there because I've gotten rid of acid reflux for clients who've been on 3 PPIs for like 3 years and they've never been able to get off any of them safely. And we get them off of all of them. Of course, not just ripping them off of them, but in a very like structured, like systematic way, because we help them find the root cause of acid reflux. And there's very consistent ones that I'm finding. So go listen to that episode if you want to know more about that. But if you're on PPIs, it is artificially lowering your stomach acid, which might help reduce your acid reflux, but it doesn't help increase your stomach acid. And you can end up, because you need stomach acid to absorb zinc, when you have low stomach acid, even whether that's from H. pylori or from PPI usage, then you're going to eventually not absorb enough zinc, and now you just have a zinc deficiency. Another thing that can cause zinc deficiency is going to be hidden copper toxicity. And it's not always hidden, but I'd say it often is. And it just has to do with... I don't have the podcast episode here. I'm getting distracted. Copper and zinc balance each other. So if you imagine like they're like magnets that they push and pull each other. If you want to have a balanced amount in your body, if you have too high of zinc, it's going to push out your copper. If you have too much copper, it's going to push out your zinc. And so I like to do a test called the HTMA test. and it really gives you a good insight into your zinc and copper. You can also use blood work technically. It's not common blood work that you're going to get. You have to go out of your way to say, can I get zinc serum and can I get copper? And then you really want to, if you're going to go the blood work route, get ceruloplasmin. That's not what we rely on though in the Better Belly Blueprint, because it's so much easier to get a hair sample and just evaluate it that way. It's cheaper, it's faster. You don't have to go get a blood draw. Just get a hair sample in the comfort of your own home. That's what I prefer. So copper toxicity. And if you want to learn more about that, there's so many implications for copper toxicity. It's episode 159. And I'll put the link in the show notes. But some of the implications for copper toxicity are going to be like PMS issues, lots of hormone issues, infertility, PMDD. PMDD. I unfortunately had a client very recently with PMDD who was put on a copper IUD, and it made her PMDD way worse, and no one foresaw it. And when we tested her copper on the HTMA test, it was through the roof. I mean, just mega high. And so very, very big deal here. But copper toxicity is a big driver for zinc deficiency. So these are actually depending on how you count them, the 3 or 4 root causes. And the order that I deal with them is, 1, I always look for H. pylori first and like to get that guy off the hook, because you never want to start increasing your zinc or increasing your stomach acid levels when H. pylori is still present, because it will also get stronger and your symptoms of acid reflux, usually it's acid reflux, but your symptoms in general can get worse. I had a client getting migraines from H. pylori once, and I had another client who was suicidal from H. pylori and depressed. Also wild and very possible. So I always like to get rid of H. pylori first. Of course, it's not the first protocol I do with clients, because I found that it's more effective to do what I call vitality protocols first. But how about I just start the drawing here for testing. So I test with the GI map for H. pylori, and then we do vitality protocols first. And these are not the same protocols for everyone, meaning what the ingredients inside them vary based off of your other lab testing. And then we do vitality protocol and then pathogen protocols. The vitality protocols make the pathogen protocols more effective. And then after the pathogen protocols, we can do protocols that are a little bit more that would be bad to introduce prior to all this, which is stomach acid protocol. You don't want to introduce stomach acid prematurely. It's dangerous stuff. It's powerful. It'll make you feel better, and it could also make you feel a lot worse if your body's not ready for it. So we deal with the H. pylori first. The second thing we're going to typically look at is starting to build the zinc, just like taking zinc and taking stomach acid in a supplement form. Usually we're not going to finish it, but while we're working on the zinc deficiency, if there is copper toxicity, then I'll work on copper toxicity. And the very last thing we do is look at reducing PPI usage, if there is any PPI usage that's current for them. I have a whole podcast episode on exactly how I do the PPI stuff. Do I have it should have it here. How to safely get off PPIs and reverse acid reflux. PPI episode is EP 287. Boop. So we'll put that in the show notes as well. So that's it. That's how you get rid of the low stomach acid. It's not rocket science. People don't talk about it a lot. And I realized I've talked about it, but I've never drawn it out. I've never kind of given you the steps. And I missed a lab here. So we have the GI map for the H. pylori, and then I use an HTMA for the zinc and the copper toxicity. It's really simple. 2 tests. And unfortunately, these are not going to be the only tests. I would say if you came into my program and you're like, I've got acid reflux, I've got constipation, I know I have low stomach acid, I just need to do the GI map and the HTMA, figure out if I have H. pylori, do your vitality protocols, the H. pylori protocol, the stomach acid protocol, you might still have acid reflux or constipation, because this is only, the low stomach acid is only one branch of multiple root causes for these other symptoms. I don't want to make that sound more complicated, but it's just to say I'm like kind of getting hyper focused on one branch of a possible like root to root causes. We're just kind of going deeper down branches so we can get to the bottom. And that's where at the bottom of the root causes is where you test and where you treat. And that's when you get lifelong results, where you're not constantly coming back and doing more and more protocols. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if there seems like I missed something or I left out something or made something confusing. But that is episode 1 here of all our real root causes series. Next week, we're going to be getting into slow motility. If you've never heard of it, you definitely want to come back, but especially if you have heard of it, which is very common if you've been diagnosed with like constipation. And some doctors like, I'm a genius. I figured out why you have constipation. It's because you have slow motility. Slow motility isn't a root cause. It doesn't happen for no reason. It has its own root causes. So again, if you want to get any of the graphics behind this episode and just see what I was drawing out in a visual way, because you're a visual learner for any reason, go to betterbellytherapies.com/root. And if you want us to help you do this in a step-by-step process that we literally are like, step 1, do this, step 2, do that, step 3, we help you know what labs are relevant for you to order in module 1. And we help you order labs at a wholesale price without needing a doctor, without needing a prescription in module 2. And we help you start detoxing your liver in module 3. And we help you build protocols in module 5 and 6. You want to join the Better Belly Blueprint. And so just go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint, and we would love to have you there. See you guys next week.
Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.